Wednesday, April 16th. I'm Rim, Scott's downstairs making dinner, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, we talk about some comic books that I kinda liked, surprisingly.
Let's do this.
So, what I'm about to say is not often what you would expect a geeky podcast like this to start with. It's one of those sentences that sets off a whole bunch of alarm bells. Usually the alarm bells along the lines of, the person I am listening to is a wacko. I should probably stop listening.
Are you going to say
what
something
is the number for the police?
Are you going to say something that sounds like 2 a.m, middle of nowhere AM radio?
No, but I feel like our duty now is to hook up an AM radio at 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, record something, and bring it back.
The FCC will come down on us like a ton of bricks.
They'll have to find us.
I guess. They're pretty good at that.
No, I'm going to say another kind of thing. So today, the Jews tried to kill me.
Oh, did they?
But luckily, I escaped.
Yeah, my knife wasn't sharp enough.
I said Jews, plural. You see, Passover's coming up, as you might know, because the New York Anime Festival...
Comic-Con.
The New York Comic-Con. I always confuse the two. Apologize for the fact that it's happening over Passover. And in fact, Scott, despite all our pressness, will have to go to his family's house on Saturday.
Well, it's in Queens. It's not very far. But the thing is, it's pretty funny because, comics are comics in the United States and Jewishness are pretty tight. Most of the big-time creators of comics in the olden days were Jews. Stan Lee's Jew. Will Eisner was a Jew. Jack Kirby, I'm pretty sure, is Jew.
But there's something that happens mostly in New York City. You don't see this sort of thing in a lot of other places, except this kind of the downstate New York greater metropolitan area. I was almost run over by a mitzvah tank.
Oh, the mitzvah tank is driving around.
No, the mitzvah tank went over the line this year.
Because usually, right, that's a special kind of Jew, the mitzvah tank Jews.
This was, all right. So I'm walking on 42nd Street, well, actually on 43rd Street, don't ask why, up toward 5th Avenue. And I get to 5th Avenue. I want to cross 5th Avenue. And I'm waiting. But up ahead, I hear all this ruckus, all this noise, and I hear fire trucks. And I think, all right, something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Which is no big deal. You hear that almost every day in the cities. I just ignore it, and I'm waiting. What's going on? I see the light turn green, but no one's going, and there's honking up ahead. And I finally get there, and despite having a green light and a walk signal, and there's a crowd of people not walking, because mitzvah tank upon mitzvah tank is running the red light going, I kid you not, about 50 miles an hour.
Really?
A line of them. There were like 70 of these things.
Yeah, they have a lot of them.
They blocked 5th Avenue in a line, one after the other, going as fast as they could, refusing to let anyone get on the street. Running red lights. They almost hit this old lady. They almost hit me, because eventually a bunch of us like, you know what? Screw you people. And we all walk out into the street, and one of the mitzvah tanks doesn't slow down and just barely swerves around the crowd. And then all the other ones kind of pile up, sounded like one of them hit another one way back, and then there's all this yelling, and they're trying to push through the crowd. One guy got out of the car and starts yelling at everyone to get out of his way. And then I see where the fire truck noises were coming from. There's this red sports car convertible, and in it is the most Hasidic Jew I've ever seen. And he's standing up, and he's got a loudspeaker, and he's yelling at everyone to get out of his way. And he's got a large boombox playing the sound of a fire truck.
And
That's
not legal.
No! So I'm kind of just watching this whole spectacle, and the people in the mitzvah tanks, as they get bogged down by people who eventually start walking out in front of them, start yelling at people, and people are yelling back, and one guy kicked one of the mitzvah tanks, and everyone's getting all crazy. And then the police came.
Yep, that's what they do.
And the police didn't know what to do, because there were far more mitzvah tanks than there were cop cars at that time, because this had just begun.
Yep.
So I see one of the cops had figured out that there's this red sports car guy who's driving up and down the street, illegally directing this whole thing. So a chase ensued. And I did not get to see the conclusion because I couldn't run fast enough, but something happened down by 38th Street, and I can't wait to see what the New York Post has to say about this tomorrow.
You care what the New York Post says?
They're the ones that'll sensationalize it the most. There'll be some stupid headline.
I'd rather read the Daily News, and that's a piece of shit, too.
The New York Post is something special.
It's funny that they sell all these like newspapers at the train station. I see all these newspapers, and they most of them, they're pretty cheap. It's like 25 cents, and I go, wow, that's I would use it as toilet paper if it didn't have ink on it.
But seriously, if you don't know what a mitzvah tank is,
Google
around.
Basically, the deal is is that there's different. Unlike, Christians, right? There's all different kinds. You got Catholics, then you got Protestants. But then within the Protestants, you got different kinds, right? And you got there's all different kinds. They all believe different things, right? And the Jews, there's some groups of Jews who believe different things, right? But in general, just sort of speaking generally, they're Jews really, they don't believe different things. They just believe more strongly or less strongly, right? It's like a Reform Jew is like, yeah, I'm Jewish, whatever. A conservative Jew is like, yeah, I'm Jewish. All right. An Orthodox Jew is like, I am so Jewish. I'm like kosher and I got 2 sets of dishes. And a Hasidic Jew is
drives a mitzvah tank.
Yes. Now, not all the Hasidic Jews are mitzvah tank driving types. Those are specifically the Lubavitches. The Lubavitches are not only Hasidic, but they are crazy. You gotta watch out for them.
And you know how many people in the street today were like, hey, you Jewish? I was like, nope. They were just checking.
Yep.
Just checking. But these mitzvah tanks, like the spectacle that I beheld on Fifth Avenue today was epic. And I wish I'd had the video camera because they almost ran over so many old ladies.
Yeah, they're crazy Lubavitches. You gotta watch out for them.
So that was my day.
Yep. All right. My day was not so exciting. I went to work and did work.
That's it?
Red.
No excitement?
No.
Huh.
Not really.
All right. Well, anyway, I got some actual anime news coming here.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, well,
Are you going to talk about the Comic-Con?
I got a lot to talk about. This weekend is the New York Comic-Con in the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. Mm-hmm. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We could go Thursday, but I don't think I'm gonna.
What is there Thursday?
Press.
What do we do?
We could go do press stuff if we wanted.
I have to go to work.
There's interviews. Yeah, I have to too. The press thing closes at 5. So theoretically, if I left work a little early and took a cab, I could do like a half hour's worth of pressy stuff.
Not worth it.
No, not worth it. But Friday, Saturday, Sunday, New York Comic-Con. It's if you're going to go to something like this, I'm going to tell you straight up, it's really only worth it to go to one day. Because everything you're going to want to do, you're going to be able to do in one day. Unless there are specific events that are on days other than the one day you go that you want to see.
Yeah. Unlike a lot of other Comic-Cons, this one actually has a crazy number of events. The schedule's in a PDF online.
It's a lot more like an anime con in that regard.
Well, kind of. But they just have a shit ton number of events. But most of them are industry events. Like, it's basically like you go and sit there for a half hour while people from a company like advertise their product to you, Or like say, hey, buy our new comic. The creator's here talking about the new comic to make you want to buy it. So a lot of the events don't really count in my book, but there are I think there's over 200 events at this con. It's crazy. But unless you care about the events, if you do like comics, right, you should, and you're in New York and you don't go to Comic-Cons too often, you probably should go to the Comic-Con. It should take you maybe 3 hours at most, maybe 4, because it's bigger than last year, to sort of walk around, see all the booths, see the whole artist alley, and all that business. If there's no particular events you want. And to do that, I think is worth it. Especially if you have kids and you go on Sunday, and the kids, I think, are 12 or under, maybe 13 or I'm not sure. They get in free, because it's Kids Day on
Plus,
Sunday.
beyond that, TM Revolution is doing a concert there, and the price of admission for one day to this convention is well worth seeing a live concert, especially from a pretty good guy.
Yep.
But speaking of TMR, we weren't going to go to the Comic-Con in any official capacity.
I was going to go maybe Friday night.
Yeah, but not in any official capacity. Like,
nope.
we kind of burned ourselves out with a million cons, and we got every con in the freaking world this summer. So we were going to just, show up to this one, maybe say hi to some people, chill a little bit, do a little bit of our press blah, 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 and then go home. But one thing led to another, and for one, we're press. We're going to actually be doing the press thing.
Did you get me that badge?
Well, I got a press badge.
Good job.
We'll see if you get one.
You always seem to, fail to, when talking to people, mention that there's two.
No, it's more that most people see no reason for more than one reporter from any given group to show up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Besides, when has this ever happened before?
Nah.
When?
Quite a few times.
When?
I can't think of the specific circumstance.
Has there ever been a time when I didn't get you a badge?
No, there have been times when you failed to mention that there are two of us.
Such as?
I'll remember in a minute.
I'm curious when this has occurred.
Yeah, we'll continue with the show, and then I'll remind you.
Okay, because this never happened, and it didn't
Yes.
happen this time either.
Yeah, it did.
No, actually it didn't. I said, yes, me and my co-host would like to come, and then they gave me one press credential.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, we're going to be going and doing the pressy stuff, but independent of that...
You're supposed to see my co-host and I.
Okay.
Yeah, take that.
That's just because you have nothing. You're making stuff up, and now you're trying to cover for it. Yeah, Rimo, blah, 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 blah. But you got nothing. And when confronted with having nothing, you got nothing to do. You got nothing to say. That's all you've got.
Continue while I remember.
Yeah, you're going to remember shit. Anyway, the long story short is that we also have our friends at Tokyo FM, and we've set up this sort of event where we and them are going to be interviewing TM Revolution at Kinokuniya Bookstore on Sunday at 3 p.m. for Japanese radio.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be pretty cool. I mean, if you're going to this con and you want to see TM Revolution, they have their panel with Brian Nishi, I think, and all this stuff. And you'll see the concert, obviously. But if you want to see him up close, you're probably better off going to Kinokuniya, or at least you should go to the Kinokuniya thing at 3.
If you've never been to Kinokuniya, you should probably go there. If you're going for the Comic-Con, you should probably go to Kinokuniya anyway.
Yes, because one, if you're an anime fan or a manga fan, you've never been to a Japanese bookstore, you're going to realize there's a lot of stuff that's not in English that you would probably kill to be able to
They
read.
also have a great English selection.
They do. You'd be surprised.
And they have a brand new store in Bryant Park that's crazy.
And beyond that,
It's just fun to go to the store.
even if you're not an anime fan, you're just a comic fan, you're going to the Comic-Con, you might want to go just to see all the different kinds of manga and Japanese comics that are out there.
I mean,
'cause
Kinokuniya will have a booth at the con, but, they won't be. That won't even be like a drop in the bucket compared to the store. And it's not.
as I've seen with Scott, he's in the Comic Geek Speak forums, a lot of comic fans automatically kind of dismiss manga and think it's one thing and don't seem to realize that it's just comics from Japan.
Well, I'm thinking, more and more, right, that it's not like an either or thing, but I think that some people, right, are fans of comics. They like comics in all their forms. They don't care about, they like web comics, they like mangas, they like they like comics. They like, sequential arts, right? But there's some people, they say, I'm a fan of comics. But really, they're not a fan of comics as a whole. They're superhero fans. They're fans of, Spider-Man maybe, And they actually, that's why you see all those comic book stores selling toys and movies and cartoons. Because they're, these people, they say they're comic fans. And they go and buy comics every Wednesday. But really, they're superhero fans. Now, there are people, are somewhere in between. Like, I'm a tiny superhero fan and a big comics fan. There's some people who are sort of like half and half or whatever. But I think that even still, the U.S. comics industry, more than 50% of its weight relies on superhero fandom as opposed to comics fandom.
I'm just saying, all I want to say, my only point is that if you think you don't like manga, you think you know what manga is, but you don't really read it, go to the Kinokuniya after the Comic-Con. One, the TMR thing will be cool. And two, you're going to see comics about like old men playing golf.
Yeah, look really closely. Don't just sort of like stand back and see like a wall of crazy stuff and be like, oh, it's all crazy. Actually, get in there and look at it like closely and examine all the different stuff, even though you can't read it.
A lot of times you don't need to read it. That golf manga, I know exactly what's going on.
I know exactly I don't know the details, but I know in general.
Yeah, that guy's crying. That guy's shot putting. That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, at 3 p.m. on Sunday at the Kinokuniya Bookstore in New York City this weekend.
Bryant Park.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can find Kinokuniya Bookstore. I'm sure you'll be able to get directions to it from the Comic-Con if you ask anyone.
If you go to the Kinokuniya booth at the Comic-Con, I'm sure they will tell you where their store is. They will be happy to tell you.
I'm glad the Anime News Network has mentioned this, even though they didn't mention us, despite us being in the press release.
I think Anime News Network hates us.
They must. I guess now we'll find out if anyone from the Anime News Network listens or not.
Maybe.
I'm curious. I really am. Because they got one thing going for them. They got Anime News Nina.
Yeah, Anime News Nina's the best thing on that website. Actually, Anime News Network, I guess you could criticize them about some things, but
they're
really,
the only game in town.
They're the only game in town.
They're like in the anime,
and they're not doing that bad a job.
In the anime press world, they're effectively the AP wire. They're the wire that
at
we
least
got.
the English anime press world.
Because the English anime press world is a sad, sad world. There's almost nothing. What? We are right there after the Anime News Network. They say something happened. We say rabble rabble about something that happened.
I mean, this animenewsservice.com, but they haven't updated since September 2007.
I have some ideas about how to make the anime press better, but that's a show for another time.
Just have a competitor?
No, I got
a lot of people who speak Japanese working for you?
Actually, I have some very specific ideas that involve some friends of ours.
So I got some news here from the Anime News Network. I haven't done an Anime News Network news.
Actually, my other news is from Slashdot, but it's actually from the Anime News Network.
You have another news?
Yeah, but you can go first.
Okay. I thought that was just your news.
No, I got a couple of things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in Korea, right, there's some people, they want to make a movie about Captain Harlock, which is awesome. All right. Captain Harlock was created by Leiji Matsumoto, who created Yamato and Galaxy Express. And he did that, the movie with Daft Punk, Interstellar, whatnot.
555.
5555555. And he's pretty awesome as far as anime making dudes go, right? One of the easily top 5, easily. So in Korea, though, they want to make a Harlock movie, and they have a budget of like $100 million. But Matsumoto says, hey, I didn't say they could do that. What's going on? And it's kind of, and okay, that's all there is to the news. But I find it kind of funny that Japan, the country where, doujinshi is so allowed, right? It's like, oh, if you want to use my characters to create your own artistic work and profit from it, go right ahead.
I think part of it's because they seem to tolerate that up to the point of large professional operations.
Well, yeah. Now, see, here's the thing. It's like, where are they exactly drawing the line here? Because in the U.S., we draw the line at you are making money, you are not making money. I think that's a pretty clear line, right? But the doujinshi people you see at Comiket, they're making a profit. They're not making a large...
Well, actually, the line in the U.S. isn't even that clear because technically you're infringing even if you're not making money.
I know.
And some people do go after you.
Yes, that is true. However, in Japan, right, they allow people to do this while making, small to moderate profits. But it's suddenly when, they're spending $100 million that there's a problem. Well, what if I spent $50 million? Would that be a problem? How about $1 million?
Well,
what is the scale? Where on the scale is it suddenly unacceptable?
It's just one of those, technically you shouldn't do it, but we're all cool with it, but we might not be cool with it in the future. And there's a lot of things like that.
It seems just, it seems as a moral thing, it seems they're very inconsistent and they're just sort of...
But we're just as inconsistent.
I know, but
the only difference between us and Japan is that our inconsistency line is equally wide but much lower.
Yes, but it's very hypocritical of a single person, because I'm sure there's plenty of Harlock doujinshis out there that Matsumoto's not cracking down on.
Maybe not. Maybe he hates all of them.
That's possible.
He sits up at night just, how can I get those bastards?
How can I get those bastards? They don't know how to draw my tail properly. Grr. But I'm sure he's not going after them. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure there's plenty of doujinshis of Matsumoto's characters.
But at the same time, if you're making a movie, a real movie with a studio, you should probably at least ask the copyright holder.
Right, all right. That's true. I'm not saying these Korean people are doing great. I just point, plus this is only going to get worse from here as, look at us. They're podcasting right now, right? As amateur media production, right, and professional media production get closer and closer to each other, where's the line gonna be? You're not gonna be, if you say it's okay for amateurs, it's not okay for professionals. Well, as amateurs are able to make professional products, what really is your distinction?
Well,
You're being
from what I've seen,
really whimsical and subjective.
From
and
what
just
I've
sort of
seen,
deciding who to pick on.
The way it's usually determined is simply by the scale of distribution. If I make 100 doujinshis, no one cares.
But what if I scan my doujinshi and put it on the internet?
That's different because that's
the biggest scale of distribution you can get.
Yes, but no one pays attention to that because not yet, at least.
Yeah. It just seems like
because then you're not making money off of it.
You could be.
So you're selling it online.
Possible.
Well, how many do you sell? You'd probably sell more if you were selling it in person.
Maybe you could sell memberships to your doujinshi downloading site.
and I don't know how many people would pay for that.
I don't know. If you had really good doujinshis in English and there were lots of them, I might pay.
I just don't
As
think
long
it's
as, not
as much of a hypocritical issue as you're making it out to be.
I don't know. I just think Japan really needs to straighten out their situation.
I think
there.
the U.S. needs to really
And
straighten out its situation.
Everyone needs to straighten out the situation, but I think Japan has a little worse. And I also think that this movie, I hope they make it because it sounds like awesome.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? $100 million Harlock movie. Can't go wrong.
We'll see. I've seen some $100 million movies in my day.
There's a lack of movies. I will take what I can get.
What are you talking about? There's tons of movies.
What movies?
What do you mean, what movies? You've never even seen Strange Days.
I'm talking about
That was made.
I'm talking about the anime movie.
Oh, anime movies.
Yeah.
But isn't this a live action?
Is it? No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Into a film, something. Oh, it doesn't actually say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Huh. That's a good question.
I'm Captain News.
Yeah, it doesn't say live action or not. You know what? If it's live action, double awesome. That would be sweet. Live action Harlock.
Anyway, I want to really briefly mention this just because it was brought up in the anime press and a lot of people lost their shit over it. Some con in Ohio used RFIDs, and I saw a lot of rabble on the internet rabbling about, oh my god, I'd never go to a con that did that. And all I have to say is chill. Totally chill. Eventually, every convention in the world is going to be doing that. It's just a matter of the technology getting better.
Yep.
And it's a good thing, and I'll leave it at that.
No, you're just gonna. That's all you're gonna say.
That's all I'm going to say.
You're not gonna talk about RFID technology and how it works and what it
No,
means.
God, no. That's a Monday show.
All right, we should do a Monday on RFID.
It's pretty simple, though.
Yeah, but we could talk a lot about not just the technology of it, but the implications.
Yeah, because the technology is
And the
really,
uses-
really, really, really
Yeah,
simple.
and the uses for it, and when you should worry and when you shouldn't.
Things of the day. A while ago, we used an awesome sumo fight as a thing of the day. This one is not technically as awesome, but in many ways, it is more awesome, and I will leave it at that.
I really think that what was done in this video that you're going to see, I really think that we should develop a technology that does
automate
that.
this in real time.
It does
and add
it
it to football.
Adds it in real time to all sports on television.
Man, if you thought that, I remember in
we should
hockey.
patent that idea before we invent it.
I remember in hockey when they added
The glow puck.
the glow puck, and then they added the comet whenever someone shot.
Yeah.
Or the fire.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, that's really stupid.
It was cool for like 5 minutes, and then it wasn't cool anymore.
Yeah.
But the one thing is it did make it a little bit easier to see the puck when there were a bunch of guys on top of
Well,
it.
in the pre-HD era, it was critical for watching sports on
Yeah.
TV.
You realize, like, hockey was one of the first things ever put in HD because Madison Square Garden, the building, which is where the New York Rangers, New York Knicks basketball play, right, is owned by Cablevision, which is the people who give us cable here. And so Cablevision actually has a TV channel called MSG, which basically shows Rangers and Knicks games. And I remember we had Cablevision, and the first thing that was ever in HD, like way before like HD was even popular, like we're talking mid to late 90s here, like before most people even knew HD, before there were any standards, before anyone knew 720p or anything like that. If you had bought an HD TV in those days, it probably wouldn't work nowadays. But New York Rangers hockey was like the first thing ever in HD. And if you actually went to Madison Square Garden, they had HD TVs all around, and you could,
You know what?
and it was like, wow, look at that.
Why leave this for sports? We should add this to the news.
Oh, no. That's cruel.
And funny. Anyway.
Okay. My thing of the day, right?
Ah,
So, when you're looking for a place to live, this has nothing to do with anime or anything.
Oh, great.
This is a new thing of the day out of nowhere, but I have a better thing of the day for tomorrow, so I didn't want to, use this one tomorrow. Whatever. When you're looking for a place to live, right, the two biggest things you got to worry about, right? I mean, if I look at my expense report on my accounting little program, right, two biggest expenses, right, are rent and transportation, right? Those like the place you live and the thing that gets you to other places, especially if you commute to work, right? So when you pick a place to live, it's like, well, I could move over here and the rent is $500 less a month, but my transportation is going to be $600 more a month, so I'm actually better off staying where I am, all right? And there's other factors you have to take into account. But here's an interesting website that begins to solve the problem of helping you figure out where the most economically efficient place to live is, where you want to go. And what they have is they show you housing or housing plus transportation as a percentage of the median income in the area in a visual way on this map.
Huh.
Yeah, so you can look at this map of New York, right? And you look, like, it's funny because you look at Manhattan, right? And it's like tan means 0 to 30%, or, there's different options you can choose, but tan is like, you're spending less than, some percent of your, income on housing and transportation. And blue is you're spending more than a certain percent of your, stuff on housing and transportation. And it's like, you see all these like blue specks in Manhattan, and you can tell like some areas it's like, oh yeah, that's a cheap place to live, that's an expensive place to live, that's a place where nobody lives, all right? And then as soon as you go up into the Bronx, it's all tan.
Nah.
And then as soon as you get up to like Yonkers, Tarrytown, it starts turning deep blue all the way up pretty much with splotches in the places where people don't live, far away from highways and transportation.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least Scott and I are at the point, and as with much of the front row crew, where we can't live more than an hour away from a global, like, international city, or there's no jobs for us.
Yeah. But anyway, let's see. I'm looking here.
Where are you looking?
Actually, Beacon is tan, and, like, the thing is Putnam County below us is blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know why?
Yep.
Because I think we make actually a lot more money than the median for Beacon right now.
Well, the thing will tell you what the median income is.
What is the median income for Beacon? What's it say?
I got to go to the Beacon area.
I'm curious.
Oh, actually, it only tells you for New York, Northern New Jersey, Long Island. It doesn't tell you for Beacon specific. The map, it's not perfect, but it's a start.
Oh, so then how's it even calculating up here?
Because it has, I don't know, but you don't.
If it won't tell me the number, I assume it's just making something up.
Yeah.
If it's blue here, a little purple here, a little bit of.
Yeah, there's an advanced mode that I haven't used, but it's it's interesting at the least. If it's not that useful yet, but I definitely see it going places.
Right. So we were gonna try to review Tokiwa Kakeru Shoujo tonight, but Scott didn't watch it.
What? How am I supposed to watch it?
I don't know. Train.
Where is it?
We had it for you. We said several times. You want it? I'll give it to you.
I'm reading books.
Okay.
And stuff.
Did you watch Kaze no Yojimbo yet?
Nope.
Did you watch Bokurano yet?
I did. I watched as many as I watched before.
All right. How about Bakano?
I watched as many as I watched before.
Avatar?
No.
Okay, great. So, I guess instead, since Scott won't watch anime, I read some comic books.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I liked half of the series that I read.
All right, so...
Tonight, first, we're going to talk about... let's start with something I liked.
All right.
Scott handed me... Invincible, Volume 1.
So Invincible is written by Robert Kirkman, who's the Walking Dead guy, right? He also did that the Wolfman comic on Free Comic Book Day that I didn't like. That was terrible, right? So I'd heard about Invincible. People kept talking it up, right? And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll buy the first trade paperback. It can't hurt, right? I mean, I'll try it, and I don't knock things till I try them. So I bought the first one, and... it's not deep. It's not serious. It's not like The Watchmen. It's not a comic for all time. It's just sort of plain and fun and bright and happy. And I liked it. It's sort of just like a nice diversion. Like, I
think the only I liked it partly because it so clearly did not take itself seriously. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, let's go. Funny. And one thing, it uses the dot eyes a lot.
Yeah, dot eyes. The thing is...
I think that's a good half of why I like Nana, was the dot eyes.
Yeah. Do you want to summarize the plot? We can summarize the plot, whatever.
World of superheroes. Kid becomes a superhero because his dad's a superhero. The mom is awesome.
Yeah, basically...
they fight crime.
His dad is basically like Superman, and then as he grows up, eventually, he gets powers. And he's like, I got some of my superpowers. And they're like, that's nice, dear. And it's he's dealing with sort of normal high school life and has all the classic tropes of a superhero story, keeping your identity secret, teams of other people, and all this stuff. But it just sort of doesn't. It treats it in a different way. It's just sort of like people act normally despite living in a stereotypical situation.
It's so light, and it's funny. Just the one part that I laughed out loud is at the end, near the end, where
the dad comes home.
The dad comes home, and you just see like his tattered arm poke in, and he's like, "I need to shave."
Yeah, basically, this is one point at which the dad gets sucked into another universe, right? And, the whole time you see, the mom usually doesn't worry that much. I mean, how much can you worry when your husband is Superman? But, he's flying around, the world saving people and stuff, and he's not home all the time, and he's always running off, and, But he gets sucked into another dimension. So then the mom is like, I always worry when he gets sucked into another dimension. And you see the mom being awesome, right? And then you're like, I wonder if they're going to keep him sucked into that other dimension for how long. And I wonder if he's ever going to come back. Are they going to... And I was like, if they had him die, that would be sort of obvious. And then I'm like, if they just had him show up at, then it would be also sort of lame, though. And then he just brought him back at exactly the right time in a humorous fashion.
But the thing is, other than that, I mean, what else can I say? It's funny, it's clever, it's cute. I don't know if I'd read any more. I think I already got everything I could ever get out of this kind of comic.
Well, this isn't the kind of comic, right? There's some comics, like they're so great, right, that you just run out and get all of them, and you read them all straight through, right? Invincible, I don't think I'm gonna run out and get them all and read them straight through. That seems like a bad idea. But I mean, if I was sitting around going like do 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 do, and I felt like just a fun comic, and I didn't have one available, I might be like, I could use something fun right now. Maybe I'll go buy the second one and see if it's as fun as the first one.
It does have a lot of those little, comic book cameos. I mean, the nerd that gets beat up in the beginning is clearly Steve Urkel, and later on you see like Charlie Brown walking by.
Yeah, funny stuff. It's just totally, fun. It's not serious. It's just kind of, hey, what's up? Totally cool. And
I'd say it's worth reading.
Yeah.
Now, Scott was amazed when I came back and said, hey, I liked it.
Yeah, I was...
So he handed me this Marvel team-up and said, if you like that, you like this.
Right, so Marvel team-up is written by also... Well, we're talking... All right, there's more than one Marvel team-up here. There's the old Marvel team-up from way back in the day. Don't read that. There's a new Marvel team-up. It's relatively new. It was from a few years ago, all right? And you can buy it. It's in 4 trade paperbacks, the whole series. And it's also written by Robert Kirkman. And it's sort of a fun superhero book. And I read the first 2 volumes, and then it took a while before the 3rd and the 4th volumes came out. So, I sort of read it that way. And the first 2 volumes, I think, in my opinion, they're a lot like Invincible, only they have Marvel superheroes instead of, original Invincible superheroes.
See, I guess the thing that got me about it is that on the surface that might seem true, but if I read it, it takes itself seriously. Like, it really does.
I think starting around the 3rd volume because the 3rd volume is way different than the 1st and 2nd, right? It sort of takes out this big tangent, and then the 4th one sort of ties them together in kind of an way.
It's so, I don't know what I never really liked the Marvel universe, and there's a billion superheroes, and they all know each other, and there's a billion supervillains,
well, see,
and they all know each other, and they all fight with each other, and like they fight a green guy, and then someone who's new is like, is that the Hulk? And Spider-Man's like, no, you dumbass, that's so-and-so from such and such, it's not the Hulk because of blah.
See, that's why I kind of like at least the first 2 volumes of this Marvel team-up, is because it's sort of... It takes normal Marvel comics take themselves like 10,000 times more seriously, right? So it's just sort of like poking fun at, at the other Marvel comics in a way. But at the same time, it's just having fun. Like, it's like, yeah, we don't need to worry about, bullshit. But it's sort of like a truth in advertising kind of thing. It's like you read another Marvel comic that takes itself so seriously, right? But it doesn't make sense because, if really you expect me to believe that all these serious comics, what you're saying is right, then that means there must be like a bajillion superheroes flying all over New York all the time. But we don't see that. So it's like the serious comic doesn't make sense. So in this non-serious Marvel team-up, it's like there's just superheroes all over New York knowing each other as they should. So it's sort of a weird thing in where, yes, it takes itself less seriously, yet somehow it makes more sense. And that is why I find at least the first 2 volumes of it enjoyable.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like it just takes itself too seriously. There's too much of that I'm a superhero giving my monologue before the other guy describes what he's about to do and then does it.
I don't really notice that so much.
There's a lot of needless exposition and expounding on the behalf of characters, talking about what happened and, well, I'm going to do this.
The few things that did, but I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, a few things that bothered me in it were like, it's Marvel Team Up, right? So it's all about, characters teaming up. But really, they should have just had it be Spider-Man teaming up with different people, because when Spider-Man leaves, it's like, because the most fun part of the book is Spider-Man wisecracking at everybody, right? I always think that's funny, especially when it's written well, at least.
Yeah, his wisecracking wasn't that funny. It was kind of pedestrian.
Well, I like his wisecracking, and I also like how it's just sort of like, his life is kind of rough. It's like, going to beat up some guys. Oh, I dropped my donuts, god damn it. Because
a lot of the plot kind of behind that is so serious compared to something like Invincible, where the way it was handled was a lot lighter. I couldn't get into it at all, and I find myself just glazing over these long speeches that people give.
I didn't really notice that many long speeches going on.
Like this kid here, the kid who was the killer right in the beginning with his weird power with the hands and the light.
Yeah, I liked how when they revealed that they give you this kid who's central to like the first story, right? He's like a mutant and he's got crazy powers, so they're trying to keep him from being too dangerous. And you're like, and at first it seems like he's innocent. He doesn't realize he's all powerful, and he's just sort of like a victim of his own mutant stuff. And maybe they'll get him hooked up with the X-Men, and he'll be okay.
Yeah, it was done well when he's like, you should look in the other rooms too.
Yeah, I like that.
But at the same time, that was serious, and the rest of it, like, it didn't fit with what I wanted, I guess.
Oh.
Plus, there's an example of what I don't like about these Marvel superhero comics and with these team ups and whatever. Quoth Wolverine after a bunch of people were looking at him on the bus.
See, I think Wolverine on the bus. I mean, come on.
That was hilarious. That was great.
Wolverine on the bus.
That was great. And this guy's
that's the thing. It's like Wolverine can't fly, right? He doesn't have the black bird or anything because he's in New York. He's not in the X-Men.
He's also on everyone's team, so he has to get around to like all these places all the time.
Right. So, and that's what happens in the serious Marvel comics. So in this non-serious one, right, they take, well, what would be true? Wolverine would take the bus. So it's like the thing that makes sense is humorous.
Especially because this one guy's looking at him. He's like, what are you looking at? It's healing already. Yeah.
Yep.
But then he gets off the bus and he says all of the following in one speech bubble.
All right.
Frigging bolded tourists.
Oh, all right. That does have some bolding in there.
Act like they'd never seen a superhero before. I saw Nova fly by, bolded twice, while we were on the bus. This is bolded New York, for Pete's sake. You can't buy a bagel without bumping into bolded Speedball or bolded Darkhawk. Now, why did he have to say all of that when he could have just said friggin' tourists? Like, these extra words are what bother me about superhero comics. And two, why did he have to name 3 proper noun superheroes? It's like they named these 3 superheroes just to get the people who know the universe and like those 3 superheroes to go, he said the name of the superhero I like. It's AnimeCon, name a Pokemon syndrome.
It does. It is in there.
I hate that. Like, it stands out so shallowly and it bothers me so much that I guess
it stands out a little less to me because if you read the really old comic books, like you read some Stan Lee's, that is like times a billion. So
and I know better. I don't read those.
I know. So when you read this one, you barely even notice it. It's totally relative. But yeah, Invincible, has the same feeling. Only I guess it doesn't have that because it's not a Marvel or a DC book.
I don't know. I liked the first one for about 20 pages, and I kind of phased out, and I skipped the third one after trying to read it. And then the fourth one was, I like the ring thing at the end when the cool guy has the ring, and he does what any cool guy would do. But then they kind of superhero comicify it, and it goes nowhere I was interested in. There's all this epic superhero crap, and
when they're like all out in the middle of nowhere and this giant battle. Yeah, that was kind of, I didn't like that, actually.
None of that was just like, wow, it's just superheroes in underwear, pervert costumes fighting. It's lost all the charm. I don't care about all this plot. Why is everyone so serious? And then at the very end, they kind of redeem it with an okay joke.
Yeah, but I definitely think Marvel Team Up, the first 2 volumes are where it shines, and Volume 3 is the crapper, and Volume 4 is a little bit better than the crapper. But yeah. It's the same thing. Anyway, you want to talk about anything else?
Nah, I think we're done here.
That was pretty quick.
Not really.
No?
Nah.
All right.
It's a standard Geeknights episode.
All right, we got anything else to say? I'll watch an anime for next week, I guess.
All right.
I don't know when, though, because I'm going to be doing this Comic-Con all weekend.
On the train. That's how I watched all these shows.
Then I got to bring my optical drive.
Yeah. Well, not for the fan subs. Bokurano and Tokyo wa Kakeru Shoujo and
Well, I don't have the fan subs for any of those. I got to get them. Well, I only have a flash drive in my laptop. I can't fit them all.
All of Bokurano was like 4 gigs.
That's a lot.
So you could take half at a time. So hard to watch anime these days.
And it takes so long to watch it.
But it's good.
I know it's good. It's just
you could watch an equal volume of comics in the same time.
No, actually, I can read really fast. That's the thing. Plus, it's like, okay, I kind of want to watch Bokurano. I want to read the books I'm reading more.
Oh, the Prince of Nothing books that you wouldn't read for so long, and now you're finally reading?
Well, come on. Everyone keeps saying, Scott, read this. Scott, watch that. Scott, read this. Scott, watch that. I don't say no, I say later.
But
so you know what?
You know what? Instead of reading
now
this and
is
watching
later
that,
for that stuff you told me to watch months ago. So you're gonna have to wait months to watch.
Instead of reading this and watching that, you read things like Marvel Team Up.
I read that even way before.
It's not that good. Wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it was good.
Nah, Avatar is much
it.
better than Marvel Team Up on an objective scale.
No. See, the thing is, you tell me to watch and read and, such and play more things than I have time to do. So they build up. So you can't tell me to watch something and expect it to happen soon. It's going to happen eventually. You know what after I finish reading these things, I'm going to read and watch something you told me to watch months ago.
Great. So how are we going to review things?
We're going to do the things what were you telling me to watch months ago?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
You know what? Months ago, Kaze no Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Which you still haven't watched.
I'm going to watch it as soon as I finish reading this stuff.
Yeah, great.
Go do one thing at a time, people.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.